All right, hey everybody. Hey, sorry we're just getting a little late start there. I mean, I like to start at 6 o'clock. I know it's 6:01, so we apologize for that. And thank you for joining the Wednesday night training. And I think one of the things that we're going to be talking about tonight is where I'm at right now is the presenting mode, right? It's like it's like, man, I want to keep my energy high, and yet I get a little bit nervous and everything else. But what I want to do is I want to talk about this first slide before we get started. And tonight we'll be talking about the 7 fundamental skills of network marketing. Right here it says you just can't beat the person who never gives up, right? Babe Ruth. What's interesting is people know Babe Ruth as what? The home run king, right? He was Bambino. He was the guy who always hit the home runs. But you want to know something that most people don't know? He struck out more times than anybody else. So how come he's known as the home run king? Because that's what people got excited about. And think about him. He never gave up. No matter how many times he struck out, he had a percentage, and I think it was 3 out of 10 that he would hit that ball. He knew that on that 10th pitch that he was going to hit that ball out of the park. And you can relate that to the network marketing industry, to your wholesale business, to your life. Just don't ever give up. Never give up, because the next step for yourself, right, will be that winning that home run. So just don't give up. And we're going to be talking about wholesale tonight. So let's get into the 7 fundamental skills of network marketing. Number 1, finding prospects. We'll talk about that in a second. Number 2, the invite, getting people to take a look at what you have. Number 3, presenting, getting people to understand what you have. Number 4, and it's one of my favorites, following up. Number 5, closing. Number 6, getting a person started correctly. Number 7, promoting events. Now, for a moment, I want everybody to look at these 7 steps, right? I want you to look at these. And does anything jump out to you from these 7 steps? I know that's a pretty broad question, but I want you to take a look at each one of these steps and ask yourself this question. Are these 7 steps really how I make money at this? I mean, think about it. And for some, you might be asking yourself, how in the heck have people made money at this? It just seems too simple. So what's my point? Here's my point, and I think this is one that many struggle with. You see, people can ask themselves, how can a business with so much potential be so simple to do? I mean, I think that the reason so many people fail at network marketing is because they do not believe that something so simple can have so much potential return. So before we get into these 7 fundamental steps, I want to kind of get you in the proper mindset. And I've talked about this before. And in fact, one of my trainings I talked about it, but I never really broke it down. I'm going to spend a little more time than I want to tonight, but I want you to understand what are the 4 beliefs you must have in network marketing before you can be successful. Before I get into that, number 1 is belief in the industry. Before I get into that, I threw you a little curve there, Spencer. I added something on my notes. Thomas Edison, we know he's one of the greatest inventors of all time. He said the most certain way to succeed is to try just one more time. Let me repeat that. He said the most certain way, that means absolute, to succeed is just to try one more time. And we can correlate that to one more phone call. We can correlate that to one more prospect, to one more presentation, to one more whatever. And as you know his story, right? Thomas Edison failed. And I use the word fail because he talks about this. He failed 10,000 times before he got the right filament for that light bulb. 10,000. So he said, one more time, just one more time, and I'm going to get there. And that was his thought. So let's talk about the 4 core beliefs in network marketing. Of course, we call the belief in industry. And I want to share a couple stats with you, just in case, you're still not really sure about network marketing. And after you hear these 2 stats, if you're still not convinced, then you might want to try your luck at maybe like horseshoes or something like that. Okay. So belief in the industry. So here's a quote that I've always used, and we're going to pull up on the screen the actual quote that I went through. I've always said that the network marketing industry produces more millionaires than the entire sports and entertainment industry combined. That's what I've always said. But check out, this is an actual stat. This is by Direct Selling Star. They said network marketing is responsible for making more millionaires than any other industry. I need to read that again. Network marketing is responsible for making more millionaires than any other industry. Okay, quote number one. Quote number two, Dr. Lad Nakamura, he talks about this in his totalwellnessnetwork.com. He says 20% of all millionaires, wait for this, in the world made their fortunes through the network marketing system. Not just here in the US or in Arkansas or California, wherever you're calling in from, but all over the world. 20% of all millionaires in the world made their fortune through the network marketing system. If these two stats alone don't raise your level of belief in the industry, then I can't do anything else for you. So, and I've also heard this. So, I've heard both sides of the spectrum. I've heard some people say, well, yeah, Joe, but, very few people make money. Very few people actually make money in the industry. And here's what I say to those who, when I get that question, I said, well, why would you want to focus on those that do not make money? Because I don't. They're not the one that's going to help me that I want to listen to. I choose to focus on those who are actually making money, and I learn from them. So if you ever hear anybody says, oh, those things don't work, you say, what do you mean they don't work? Oh, nobody makes any money in it. Well, I'm not listening to those who don't make money. I'm listening to those who have made money. So that's the part of belief in the industry. Number two is you must have belief in the company. And that's an easy one to talk to, because if you didn't believe in Hülsa, there'd be nobody on this call right now, right? Nobody's on this call. But I think we've had exposure from Hülsa, whatever it was, and we'll talk about the third one here, that we believe in the company. We believe in the founders and board of directors. We believe in Dr. Janelle Kim. We believe in all these things put together. That's why we believe in the company. Our belief is high enough. Number three is we got to have belief in the product. As I just stated, most of us are here because we all had a product experience, right? It always starts with a product, because we're a product company. And yet I don't want everybody to get too confused on that, because yes, we lead with the product, right? But it's the product that captures the attention of the individual first, but it's the business model that will set people free. I often say this, that is a person going to be more moved by a product experience or by changing their lives and their family's lives and their children's life, right? We know it's going to be the latter. So belief in the product is so important. And number four, and this one area I've seen so many people defeated in it, it's belief in yourself. I always ask myself, why is that? Why doesn't everybody just do this? Why can't they, and I literally spend at night going, how can I help this person? There are so many reasons, why people lack that belief in themselves. And here's some of my thoughts. And I can go on, I can do a whole teaching on this, but most people allow outside circumstances to control their destiny. It's just how some of us are wired. They allow the thoughts and opinions of others to derail them and steal their dreams away. That's right. Most people don't want you to get ahead of them. They don't want you to do anything better than they've already done. And they'll do everything to stop you from living out your dreams. I know you guys have heard this before. It's, the crabs in the boiling pot, right? That first sucker gets out. He goes, I'm out of here. What does everybody else do? They pull him back in. You can't get out of here. The same thing you've heard me talk about before, the cemetery story, right? If you allow others to steal your dreams, that's where your dreams will end up. You'll end up going to the grave with those dreams. If you want to change your life, then you must believe in yourself and not only in yourself, but in what you're doing. You must believe in yourself so much that nothing will stop you. Nothing will stop you. And it doesn't matter that you've never had success before, or that you never owned a business before, or that no one in your family has ever earned $1 million. You pick the number. You want to know what matters? Here's what matters. It's what you think of yourself. Period. End of story. It doesn't matter what anybody else thinks. So what you believe is what you think about yourself, and that's it. Okay, I hope I set the tone for everybody. Now let's get on to the call, which is the 7 fundamental skills of network marketing. And you've heard all these before. We're just going to put them all. I'm going to put them all together for you, because I was listening to a YouTube and someone was going over these 7 skills. I said, my gosh, what an awesome training. And I need to share this with everybody in Hülsa. So why, number 1, finding prospects. And why is this at the top of the list? Why? It's pretty simple, because if you don't have prospects on your list, guess what? You have no business. You see, your success in the network marketing space will be determined by your ability to create, find, sift or shift, and sort through your list of contacts and add to your list daily. That is how you will determine how well you'll do in this business. And I heard this many years ago from a very successful female network marketer. She's at the very top of a company right now. She said, what you have to see is this is what you call your prospect list. You got to see this jar of jelly beans, 1,000 jelly beans that are all black. And there's one green one inside. One green one. You see, that's the one that you want to find. You see, and if you're serious about changing your life, and that you've chosen Hülsa to be the vehicle to get you there, then you need to become an expert in this first skill of 7s. I cannot tell you how many times I've heard people tell me, Joe, I don't know anyone. My list is so small. Well, here's a stat that we got up here on the screen. You see, the average American knows about 600 people. How do we know this? Research is led by the Columbia professor in Columbia. I can't even say his name, posed a series of questions to represent a sample of over 1,500 Americans, and they came up the average person knows 600 people. The only problem is that most of us can't remember it. So one of your activities on number 1, finding prospect, is you need to know, think about every single day, who else do I know? Use the memory jogger in your fast start guide. Use it. Always have samples on hand, whether you're at the grocery store, gas station, restaurant, always have samples on hand. And here's why. I call it the 10-foot rule, right? And if you've never heard this before, I mean, how many of you heard of 10-foot rule, right? I can see most of you out there. Doreen, have you heard the 10-foot rule before? No? All right, you're about to. Here we go. Karen, I know you've heard it, right? No? Yes, 10-foot rule. Here's the 10-foot rule. Okay.
3 foot.
Yes. 3 foot. Yeah, Karen knows 3 foot. Anybody who comes within my 10-foot circle, right? Guess what they're going to get? They're going to get my elevator speech, right? What's an elevator speech? Maybe you've never heard this before. Well, this is good for you guys, because I hope that you'll enjoy this, and we'll send this out tomorrow. The elevator speech is a 30-second speech on what you do. And here's what I do. I always look for people that I can compliment, whether I'm at a grocery store, whether I'm at a restaurant. I'm always looking for people who I compliment. And here's what I say, and you'll come up with your own 30-second speech. Okay, it's called the elevator speech. This is kind of what I say. It just depends on the person. I say, you know what, Karen, I just couldn't help notice how outstanding of a job you're doing here. I'm really impressed. In my profession, I pay close attention to individuals just like you that stand out in life, and I reckon those types as life changers. And it's my desire to meet as many life changer type people as I can, because there needs to be more of us in this world. Someone like you would do phenomenal in the business I'm in, and I would love to share it with you. It's in the wellness arena, based around some impactful products that I would like to share some samples with you and get your feedback on it. Here are some samples. That's my 30-second elevator speech, but I had a sample to hand them. And here's in I didn't ask them any questions. I just handed them the samples. And guess what happens? The moment they grab it, you now have a new contact. Does that take a lot of wherewithal or what? I don't know what the word is. Does it take a lot of gumption to do that? You bet it does. But here's what I want you to understand. You have to constantly add to your list. In order to be successful, you have to constantly add to your list, because that one person that you hand that sample to, that you've complimented and you follow up with, that one person can change their lives, and they'll help change your lives. Okay. So let's get to number 2, the invite or the invitation. The example above, of course, was, your kind of cold market approach, right? But what I want to talk about here is maybe more of your warm market approach. And I've covered this in a previous training, but I want to kind of give you some kind of important reminders, on the invite. Number 1, this is so important. You're not trying to explain everything about about Hülsa. You're simply inviting them to a presentation. You're not there to answer the questions. You're not there to explain all about cannabis, cannabinoids, your endocannabinoid system, the company comp plan, or anything. You're just looking to invite them to a presentation. That's it. Less is always more. The less that you can do, the better off you're gonna be in that. And always remember this: if you focus your invite around why you're doing Hülsa, and I've seen some powerful whys, and Doreen, I appreciate so much you sharing your whys and your goals with me, because that hit me really hard, and I just appreciate you sharing with me. But that is what you want to present to other people. Your why you're doing Hülsa. And sharing your testimony in the product, it's okay, but what you want to do is keep it short and simple. So the first thing you want to do is always remember, when you're inviting, do not put any emotions into the outcome of the call. So whether they say no, not interested, or they say yes, you'll focus on one thing and one thing only, and that's making that call and inviting them to the presentation. Number 2, the second thing to keep in mind is this: when you get a no, I want you to take that no and realize that you are one step closer to getting that yes. Remember, Thomas Edison, 10,000 no's before he got that one yes. I want you to think about that. And if you knew that it took you 20 no's to get that one yes, how much easier it would be to make each one of those 19 calls? I mean, think about that. If you haven't thought about that, you've got to focus in on each call is going to get me one step closer to getting to my goals and to my dreams. You want to make sure that you're perfecting your invite, how to invite, and therefore, when you do that, you'll increase your percentage of your closing percentage of invites to a presentation. Once you do this, it will allow you to live out your dreams and accomplish your goals. And remember, I told somebody this today. We were talking about sales, and we are kind of in the sales business, but we're truly in the, we're brokers of hope. But what you want to do is you want to transfer your feeling. You want to give them your emotions. That's why when you talk about your whys, you'll get more people to listen to you, because you're not kind of giving them a pitch. You're actually giving them your heart. You're sharing your heart with them. So remember this: the only thing between you and living out your dreams is getting people to a presentation. That's it. Monday night presentations, everybody, you should have people, it should be packed on that call. You want to get more people on the call, because that's how you help. The more people you help, the more you'll be able to help yourself. Number 3, presenting, getting people to see what you have. And this is what I love to do, everybody, because I do get pretty fired up. I do get nervous, because I want to make sure that what I have to offer, I want to make sure people really get to see what we have. And that means you brand partners out there that they're on this right now. And I appreciate each and every one of you that are on here tonight, because that tells me you guys are engaged. But I'm presenting to you guys. And so to me, it's so important that I get you the right information, right? And so if you're new in this, and about presenting, I want you to understand this, that the more you listen to presentation, and by watching every one of our videos, you'll be able to do your own presentation sometime. Okay. For those that have been doing presentations, you know that once you begin, you actually potentially have have guests in the room, and the future of their future is in your hands. That's how I take it, each presentation that I give. And whether it's a training or whether it's a business presentation, it's a lot of pressure, but when you take that much thought into your presenting, right, you will come across more from your heart. So when presenting, here's a few things to keep in mind. Number one, keep your energy high. Thank you for that, Spencer, because there was a big typo there. Thanks, bro. By the way, Spencer, he's top at our office besides Karen, man. These two really help us out. But anyways, no one wants to listen to somebody who's not excited about what they have to share. Somebody told me not too long ago, how do I get that energy that you have? Well, first of all, I just cut my latte. You can see I drank my latte. So that got me pretty fired up. And that's not tea, Karen, but it's my latte and I got to have it. But it gets me fired up. But I know, you see, if here's the truth of it. You see, your excitement can overcome any of your presentation weaknesses. If you're just excited, but don't be too excited because they're going to think you're nuts. Just be excited. Be passionate about what you're sharing. Let the passion come out, because people will listen to what you have to say. Number two, don't be afraid to share your why you are doing Hülsa. Keep it brief, and this is during your presentation. This is for those that are presenting in Zooms, or we're getting back in the home. So when you're presenting in person, don't be afraid to say why you're doing this. Keep it brief, but share with the prospects so they can understand that this is more than just a business to you. You see, it's a life-changing experience, and that's why most everybody on here has come to here. So don't be afraid to share your why. Number three, keep each point of every slide brief and to the point. Don't be long-winded. By no means you want to keep your presentation to at least 30 minutes tops, unless you're doing a training. And yeah, it's not going to be 30 minutes, but that's okay. Try to keep it to 30 minutes. So try to avoid fillers that just take up time. And my wife is awesome, because she's usually always here listening to me. And she said, might want to think about cutting out that or cutting out that, because that's just a filler. So try to keep the fillers out of it, just to the sake of giving more time. And just remember, this is truly the moment of truth. And what you have is what people have been searching for, right? What we have to offer truly is something that we call hope. And I love saying that, because it really is. When you get to transform the lives, right, of people, like many of us that have been in this industry for a long time, when you truly get to share this and see people's lives change, right? Whether it's a small change or a massive change, right? It's something that gets embedded in you. So your presentation, when you think about it, it truly can change the course of someone's life. So keep it, just share from your heart, everybody, and give that hope. Okay, number four, the follow-up. I've always said before this, and I say this all the time, the fortune is in the follow-up, right, Karen? The fortune is in the follow-up. In fact, I was just speaking to a brand partner today about a project that he's working on that involves Hülsa, and I told him, and I was just following up with him, and he was so happy. In fact, he was like, he goes, man, you're like me. I was just thinking about, I needed to follow up with you. And I told him, I said, I'm like a bulldog when it comes to following up. Once I bite, I don't let go, because there's here's why. Here's why the fortune is truly in the follow-up. You see, if you have just presented your offering to someone, to a prospect, and then you don't follow up, what do you think they're thinking? Right? What do you think they're thinking? Because they're thinking, my gosh, this wholesale business it's not even that important, because he or she hasn't even been checking in with me to see how I like the product. So it's so important, whether you're just calling for a presentation, whether you're sharing the product, everybody, you got to make sure that you follow up. And I want to tell you a story real quick of somebody who I did not follow up correctly. Yeah, Joe didn't follow up correctly, because I was talking to somebody the other night that what you all are doing, part of my business, part of my job description as executive VP of sale, I'm out there helping people get into the wholesale business. That's what I do. So I do everything I ask you guys to do. Guess what? I'm doing the same thing. So I shared product with somebody who's local here to our resort. And I didn't follow up. Uh-oh, I didn't. I shared product and I didn't follow up. And it was probably a week and a half later. You know what I did? I said, oh my gosh, I did such a poor job. I called this person up on the phone and I said, hey, Robert, dude, I'm so sorry. I did a poor job in sharing the product. Let's start over. So what I did is I shared more product. This time I did my follow-up. This time he said, oh my gosh, I love this product. And guess what? He joined Hülsa as a founder. Him and his wife Kim joined Hülsa as a founder. I didn't follow up correctly, but guess what? I went back and followed up correctly, and look what happened. A new brand partner came into the company. The fortune truly is in the follow-up, everybody. Okay, so make that a point to follow up whatever system you want to use to track all your leads, whatever it is, follow up, don't miss anybody. Number 5, closing, asking for the sale. It really is. You know, back in 19, and I'm going to date myself, 85, I was in the bodybuilding industry. My wife and I bought our first nutrition center. I knew nothing about sales. I knew nothing about closing. I knew nothing about the art of sales. Nothing about that. In the first 3 months of our nutrition business, we bought a nutrition store. I was going broke. Literally, we were going broke. And I said, oh my gosh. You know, I was this big buff bodybuilder. I thought people would just come to me and buy product. I found out quickly that that was not the thing. So I decided to invest into myself, into learning how to do sales. I went to a 3-day seminar in Scottsdale, Arizona by Tom Hopkins. He's one of the world famous trainers. So I learned how to close a sale. I learned everything about selling. And I became one of the top nutrition stores in the nation of a company that we carried a lot of their supplements. You see, sale for most of it, it's the toughest of all because you must ask your prospect for money. And for those that never done this before, it's kind of tough. And for some, you might even cringe at the thought. You're like, oh my gosh. So let me give you a few tips on closing the sale. The first one, I want everybody to listen. The first one is literally can change everything about your business. And when I learned this one sales technique, it literally took me to the top of my industry. So I want you to all pay attention and if you're taking notes, I want you to write this down. Okay, so I'm gonna go really slow. So whenever you ask the closing question, let me repeat that. Whenever you ask the closing question, shut up! And then I wake you guys up. That's how I heard it the first time. It was so important to hear that word shut up. Whoever speaks next loses. If you guys were not awake, I think you're awake now. You see, in that moment of asking for the sale, there's pressure. And there's pressure for someone to make that decision. And you don't want it to be you. It's your prospect's decision. If you take that pressure off by speaking, now you've let your prospect off the hook. Let there be silence. Let there be a staring game. I remember when I was in health club sales, I would sometimes sit there and I literally would just sit there and people, you could see them squirming in their seat. When I say, would you like the paid in full membership or the monthly membership? And I just shut up and they'd sit there and go, oh gosh, I wouldn't say anything. I remember one time, one person stared at me for a minute. I just stared back. But let me tell you, it's so important. Let there be silence. Don't be the first one to speak. Okay, that was number 1 tip. Whenever you ask a closing question, just the first one who speaks loses. Number 2, and here's how I want you to think. What we have to offer can truly change a person's life. It can change their course forever. So think in terms of the potential value proposition you have to offer. Think about in terms of value, what we have to truly offer. You see, you're asking in terms of money, but there's a lot more in return for what you're actually getting. And I've always believed in this, and I've heard this so many times in sale. You see, if you raise the value of something high enough, you raise that value, give enough value proposition to it, the price will never matter. So just remember, what we have to offer can change the course of a person's life and add so much value to it. Yes, it's a product, and yes, it's this or that, but it's changing a person's life and adding value to that can really, 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 give that person more value. Number 3, this is a third tip, or the last one on closing. When you ask the closing question, always give two options. I do that on my appointment times. I do that on my callback times. I do that on when I'm asking somebody for the final decision. I always give two options. Here's why. It is a common thing, a nature of a person. If you give them an option between something and something, guess what they have to choose? They've got to choose something. For example, if you ask them, so we have 4 options here for you. Do you prefer the experience pack or the founders pack? You've asked them for something and something. Versus if you give them an option between something and nothing, guess what they will always choose? They will choose nothing because it's safe. There's nothing wrong in choosing nothing. For example, if you ask your closing question like this, so what do you think? It's not for me. You didn't give them an option. You gave them an option between something and nothing. And that's why, and that's how I used to, when I had nutrition center, that was my close. My close was, so what do you think? And they would say, yeah, I think it's not for me. Always give them an option between something and something. Even when you're making an appointment, would you prefer me to call you back in the morning or in the afternoon? On Tuesday or Wednesday? Always give options, everybody. It's so important. Lastly, you must look forward to this part, the part of closing. Let your positive energy flow into that moment. And what I mean by that is, the last thing you want going through your mind at the time of that question, the closing question is, oh, they probably will say no, or, well, they'll say they're not interested, or maybe they'll say, this is not for me. If those are the thoughts that are going through your mind and that's what you're thinking, guess what? That's exactly what you're going to get. You're going to get whatever you put in your mind, you're going to get. So allow yourself those positive thoughts that person is going to become part of your organization, that you're going to help this person grow. And remember, I've said this so many times, whatever you think about, you will bring about. Whatever you think about, you will bring about. Okay, number 6. Getting a person started correctly. And I know we've gone over this before, but this step right here is the first in the duplication process. And you've heard me say many times, whatever you do is what they will do. Meaning all the steps that we just gone over above, however you did those steps is exactly how your new brand partner will think it's how to be done. And I'll give you an example of that. And I haven't written this down, Spencer, but for example, back in the old business where we had home tasting parties, we'd have a bottle of juice, but some people would not only just bring out the juice to taste, but they would have hors d'oeuvres, they would have cocktails, they would have all this different stuff. And most people would say, oh my gosh, this is what I got to do every time I have one of these things. No way, it's not going to happen. So you want to make sure that everything that you do, right, you're thinking they will duplicate that out. So even the starter package, they will typically do whatever you did when you joined. If you join the experience pack, they'll do the same thing. If you join the founders pack, they'll do the same thing. Whatever you did, if you're on auto ship, they'll be on auto ship. If they're not on auto ship, they won't be on auto ship. If you're a rising star, they'll be a rising star. It's just how this business works. The good news is that we have certain tools that will help your new brand partners get started. We have the first 48-hour training video that you can share with them and say, just follow this or watch this. It's lengthy, but it will give them the basics of what to do as they start their business. You want to be able to think in terms of, let that person share a tool with that person. Let the tool always do the talking, because that's the most important thing. And so whether it's the fast start guide, right, that we have, or the first 48-hour or the company comp plan video or whatever it is, share the tool and let the tool do the talking. Because here's the thing, everybody, is if you let a new person understand that you don't have to do all the talking, we have the tools to do the talking. And once we get back in the homes, we're going to have a presentation that it's just plug and play. All you got to do is introduce be the host, introduce what they're going to see, plug in the video, the link, whatever, close it out. Because if you're doing all the talking, the person in that room is going to say, I can't do this. Right? So if you have any questions about how to properly get a new brand partner started, ask your upline or feel free to reach out to me. I'll be more than happy to set you free. That was just we call it automatic. Okay, number 7, promoting events. And this is something that I learned from, long time ago, that I was taught very early on that they said, Joe, those who put the most butts in the seats at events, whether that be a guest or a brand partner, will be the ones making the most money in the end. Whoever brings the most people to an event is the one who will win the most. And so whoever's going to promote the most, because this goes along with this, whoever promote the most wins the most. And so when you think about that, what events do we really have right now, right? What do we have in Hülsa right now? Well, here's some for you. Every Monday night, what do we have? You have a chance to get your new prospects to hear a live presentation. So get them on a call. That's where you're following up with people that you've been trying to get on call. Just because they said no once doesn't mean that they can't come another time. So every Monday night, you have a chance to get your team on the call, right? Just because your team has heard it before or you've heard it before doesn't mean that you stop. And here's why. This is so important. Please listen up. And I found this to be true, many, many, many times. If you, and I'll just use this term, you miss one event, and we'll say this, a brand partner. If you miss one event, guess what happens? It's easier to miss a second event. And when you miss that second event, it gets a lot easier to miss that third event, and so on. And here's what happens. Once you miss one event, 2 events, 3 events, you find that person unplugging. And you must know this, that you must always show up to go up. And that's why when I see people on calls like this, it gets me excited because you guys are showing up. You are here to learn. And I hope the content that I deliver gives you some, something to put in your quiver. But the most important thing is you're showing up. That's keeping you plugged in. So we have Monday nights, and we every Wednesday night, like tonight, Wednesday and Saturdays, it's a perfect time to learn more about your business. Remember, these Wednesday nights and Saturday nights are really for brand partners. So if you're new, if somehow you're on here and you're not a brand partner, it's okay. You're learning a lot of information. But these are the times for us to learn and get better at it. And just remember, every third Thursday of the month, we'll have ladies' nights, and that, ladies can get together and they can really learn from each other and share about just life. It's not necessarily about Hülsa. So we have Monday nights, we have Wednesdays and Saturdays, we have the third Thursday every month. And here's the last thing. We want to get back into homes. We want to get back into local meetings, and then we want to get into regional meetings. And each one of these meetings are so important for you to promote. When I think back when I, 2 businesses there's 3 businesses that I built face-to-face, and then one that I built strictly online. We promoted from event to event to event. The first company that I was with, we had one home party on a Monday night. We circled back Monday and Tuesday from everybody. Monday, we had Monday, Tuesday. Then from Monday, Tuesday, we circled back from those Tuesday people. We had a Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. We circled back with everybody signed up on Wednesday. We moved it to Thursdays, had Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and so on and so forth. And we promoted to every one of those. Then when the local events came around, everybody who came on those 7 days a week from those home parties, guess where they went? They went to the local meeting. Then they went to the regional meetings. That's how you grow your business. You promote from event to event to event. Right now, I'm going to encourage each and every one of your brand partners to get yourselves back into the homes. If you're comfortable with that, get back into the home, because now the face-to-face is so important, because that's how we're going to get the stick-to-itness, right? There's more emotions when you're face-to-face. If you're not comfortable doing that, keep doing the Zooms. Pretty soon, I believe that everything's going to open up, and we'll be back to doing whatever we're supposed to be doing to grow this business. So as I come to it, I want to go back to my first statement that we talked about. Whoever puts the most people in the seats in the events will be the ones making ones making the most money. Just do that. Promote the heck out of each one of our events. Even though they're all Zooms right now, just promote them, and you'll find that your business will grow. And whether you have nobody on that call, or you just, you have people on the call, just show up to go up. My last question to you is, when you look at where you're at in Hülsa, right, and you look at everything that you've done, Do you want to be one of those who are, the ones who are, uh, getting the most out of this, that are changing your lives, or you want to be the one sitting on the sideline not doing anything? And I know that's a pretty easy statement, because I know you're saying, yeah, Joe, I want that to be myself. I want that to be me. And here's what I'll end with this, that I've always learned this: the first one to market is always the first one to bank. Right now is first one to bank. Right now we're such a new company, and there's so many things happen internally, you guys, that this company is about ready to explode. And if you have the momentum going as we take off, and as David says, that hockey stick, right, you'll be able to catch it all. You'll be able to catch it all, and you'll be part of that. Don't be sitting on the sidelines and waiting for it to happen. I'll have one more slide for you, and then we're going to end this. And what I'm going to do, everybody, I'll open the call for a few minutes before we end it. But why don't you go put up that last slide there, Spencer? This is so important, because this truly is a sum of how you become successful. Small daily improvements are the key to staggering long-term results. Small daily improvements are the key to staggering long-term results. And I'll just break this down real quick. Small daily improvements. See, each of us work this Hülsa business in different levels. Some work at, very small. Some work at more. I know there's some leaders on here that work at full time, because this is their focus. They work at full time. But whatever it is that you work, and whatever time that you commit to it, just remember, just small daily improvements are really the key to staggering long-term results, right? Don't give up. You're one step closer today than you were yesterday in being successful. Okay. Thanks, everybody.